Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Fred Speaks. I pray this podcast finds you in the best of health and spirits. And I was trying to do something a little different for the podcast. I would like to start, or this will be the beginning of what is called the Fireside Chat series, which I will have discussions with various people about current topics. This episode is related to how people are occupying their time during social distancing. We have a special guest for this episode. I would like to introduce someone I have a tremendous amount of respect for, who is a loving mother of two teenagers, a son and a daughter, and a wonderful sister, an awesome aunt, a great friend to many. She loves to read. She's a great event planner and organizer. Please welcome Miss Ayesha. Ayesha, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you for
All
having
right.
me.
I'm glad that you're able to join. Very excited about this new series. And let's get started. So, as you are aware, social distancing is in effect throughout the U.S. and other countries. Um, and it has been a challenge for people to occupy their time, especially if they don't, if they don't have a job, or the kids, they're not in school, or even after you finish your workday, just trying to find things to do when you're kind of on lockdown. So how are you holding up since all this began?
Well, I think I'm holding up pretty well. I'm one of the lucky ones who gets to still, be able to work during this time. So that has definitely occupied a lot of my time working from home. Uh, it's a little bit more difficult than for some reason for me than, going into the office. But we've been holding up pretty well. I would say me and the kids. Me and my son, my daughter has abandoned us during this time, and she's hanging with her aunt. But so far, me and my son are doing pretty okay.
Okay, so what about from a mental and physical standpoint? Is it taking a toll on you being basically in the house, for even though you're working and doing different things, but just being in the house and not really getting out?
Oh, social distancing is my playing field. No, I generally, like to keep to myself anyway. But I think the difficulty is, when you do want to go and just meet up with your friends, you can't do that as willing, as you'd like.
And isn't it interesting that you said you are someone that it doesn't bother you to be alone, um, isn't it interesting from a mental standpoint that when you know that you're kind of on a lockdown and you shouldn't be going, that you kind of have that mindset, dang, I would like to go, even though that's not something that you would normally do.
Yeah, I think it's something about our personalities where somebody tells you not to do something you want to do in anyway. So yeah, I mean it is, interesting that now that I'm basically on lockdown, that it's like, oh, I think I want to go do something.
Right, right. So I, let's move into our next question. I appreciate that answer. Great response. Uh, what are some of the things that you and the kids and your family members that you talk to, and friends and stuff? What are you guys doing to occupy your time?
Well, I guess it just depends on who you ask. It seems like a lot of us are just doing different things. I mean, probably in the same realm of just watching TV shows and streaming. But then, I mean, I've got friends who are crocheting and others who are taking this time to focus on their business. The kids are doing some schoolwork still, and not for all of their classes, but for some of them, they have to do some work, or just even going out in the backyard and or going in the front yard and just doing some stuff. So it just depends on, I guess, who in my family I'm speaking to. But for me and mine, we're generally here either streaming, reading, and in my son's case, playing some video games.
Okay. So one of the things that I find interesting, people always say, I don't have time to cook. So is that something that, you would say yourself and your, friends and family members, that's, increased now that, you're pretty much in, that you're cooking more?
Yes, and probably because we just don't feel like going or don't want to go outside and order anything or get any fast food. So we are cooking more than normal just because we're confined to the house.
Okay. And the next thing is, what about exercising? I hear people all the time, I don't have time to go to the gym, or and that's their excuse for not, getting their exercise in. But have you and your friends or family members been able to basically get some routine in place that you can do from the house?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was generally doing things in the house and not that didn't require gym membership, but I think a few of my friends have started working on workout routines during this time. I think, having to be home, you kind of carve out the time now because you see how your day is and you kind of eliminate that travel to and from work. So you feel like you've got a little bit more time to do some things. Um, I know when I was going into the office, I would try and work out before going to work. But now that I'm working from home, I'm actually um, doing that after work. It's a little bit more relaxing than it is to do it in the morning for some reason now that I am, working in the house.
Okay. And what about like, I know there's a lot of churches that are streaming, doing their live streams during the week, on the weekend. So are you and your friends and family members taking advantage of that? And and also prayer, like, is that, have you seen an increase or for yourself and others um, during this time?
Well, I can't speak for others, but for myself, I think one of the great things about streaming is that you eliminate that excuse sometimes of being tired or I don't want to get up and get dressed or I don't want to drive. You can, turn on whatever device you need or that you're using and, tune into the service that way. And so it eliminates a lot of the excuses that you probably would have had before this whole social distancing situation. Um, in terms of prayer, I think that not that it is increased, but that it has become more focused and intentional in a sense. Um, just and I can't really explain it, but just having it's more focused than I would say than before. I don't.
Is that because of the time that we're in, or it's just something that you saw for yourself that you needed to be more
I
focused?
think it was something that I feel like with I guess it's both probably because of the situation and because I kind of have more time to focus in the morning. So because I'm not, having to get in my car and go driving to work, I can kind of I don't know, draw and focus on things that and even just pay attention to things throughout the day that I probably wouldn't have noticed just because of what's going on. It's kind of, I guess, shifted my prayer a bit. My prayer, my, what I pray about and how I pray a bit.
Okay. So we've talked about some different things that you, your family members, and friends have been doing during this time to occupy your time. But which of those things would you say is occupying most of your time? And one of the things is uh, social media, for example. It would be interesting to know whether, due to the social distancing, that there has been like a huge increase in people utilizing social media to occupy their time. So, just would like to get your thoughts on what you've seen for yourself and others that most people are doing to occupy, or where they spent most of their time.
I definitely think most. Are you asking about my time or others?
Well,
Myself.
yourself, your family or friends, and
Well, for myself, I mean, I definitely think I spend too much time on social media, and it's a little strange because I don't stay on there. I might go on there for 15 minutes and then jump off. And so I'm not really, it's the weirdest thing because it's like your hands are idle, so you feel like you need to pick up your phone and go on social media, and it's like, for what? You're not doing anything on there. Um and so I do think that I have been picking up my phone and just idly going on there and realizing like there's no reason for me to be on there. My phone, and I know a lot of people, their phone will tell them like how much time they've spent the past week, on social media or on your phone. And it's actually changed for mine. It'll go up, some weeks, down other weeks. I do notice that when I go on that there are a lot of live streams going on. So people are doing a lot of live streaming. Um, I don't know what they're talking about because I haven't jumped on any of those unless it's been church services. But
so you're talking about like individuals that.
individuals that are going on, and
Okay.
yeah, so I'm not quite sure what they're discussing because it's not something that I.
It, so do you think that there is an increase in that type of uh, you know thing that people are doing, or is that something that you just never paid any attention to?
No, I think it's definitely an increase. Probably just because people have a little bit more free time on their hands if they're not doing anything or they're bored or, you know. So I think, and also just, if, I guess a way of feeling connected to people. So people get on live so that they can, I guess, have these conversations with, I guess, their followers, during this time.
Okay. So what would you say? So you're saying that probably social media is like at the top of the list of the thing that's occupying your time.
No, I think streaming is occupying my time more than social media. um,
So streaming, can you
Well, and
give
yeah,
more?
streaming shows or movies.
Okay.
Oddly, it's generally things that I've probably, or shows that I've seen already for some reason. I think, if I'm, analyzing myself, I think that just watching shows that I've already seen, or movies I've already seen, kind of is comforting, I guess. So I haven't really watched or streamed anything that's new, but things that I've already watched years ago.
Okay. And uh, so you said that streaming is at the top of the list for
Right.
you. Is that the case, you think, for your family members and friends as well?
Honestly, I don't know. It's, really, we do our check-ins, but I'm not really, following up to see what people are doing during this time. Just, and also probably because, again, I think a lot of my friends and family, they're blessed to be able to still, work. And so they're working from home, or some of them are having to go to work. And so their schedule is almost the same in a sense. And for those who their schedule is shifted just a little bit, I think they're probably more focused on the things that you would consider like their side business or side hobbies. They're focused on those.
Okay. So yours is the live streaming, which basically is TV shows, movies. So is your go-to like something like Netflix or Hulu? What is your go-to streaming source?
Hulu and Netflix.
Hulu
Mhm.
and Netflix, and which of those two do you use
I
more?
don't know. It just it just depends.
Okay.
It just depends. But I probably shouldn't stream as much. But I mean, I do need to. I have, been saying that I need to read some more. I've, reading here and there, but not as much as I should, and I probably should balance out some of that streaming with some more reading.
Okay. So, what would you or what options would you recommend to other people to occupy their time during this social distance?
Distancing.
Uh,
So, I mean,
yeah.
I honestly feel like you kind of know what works best for you. If you feel like you need to check out, and that checkout means, you're reading a book or you're streaming, or, I'm not, I guess I'm not the person that's like, during this time, you should focus on finding a hobby or a side hustle. Or, I mean, if you need to and that helps you and that works for you, absolutely. But I think, what helps you get through this time is what you should do. I definitely think that praying, if you are feeling anxious, is helpful. Reading your Bible, if that, just to kind of center yourself, um, is something. But I feel like, what works for you during this time, because everyone is different, and how you handle stress and unknown situations is different. So if, focusing on something that you wanted to focus on before, um, if that helps you do that, if just relaxing and saying, I'm just going to read a book, or, um, you know, I think you should do that. If cooking helps you, do that.
So you basically would base it on what works best for the individual. But if you could give maybe your top three things that you have, that has been beneficial
Mhm.
for you during this time.
I think having a routine would is helpful. I think that during this time, I know being in the house, you feel like, okay, maybe I can just, lounge around and do nothing. But I think having a routine, even if you can't go outside and do all the things that you'd like to do, is beneficial. Um, I think that if you started the year saying like, oh, I want to be able to do A, B, and C, and this is what I'm looking forward to in the new year in 2020, that those goals shouldn't just fall to the side, that you should still focus on those things. Um, and also, I would say definitely include some kind of workout routine. I think that, that's important as well, just to have some kind of workout, because, being in the house and not doing anything, just I think can, put you in a certain mindset. So I think, working out and getting that blood flowing is helpful. So I would say having a routine, um, focusing on some of the goals you had for this year, those that you can focus on, and probably working out.
So, what type of interaction would you recommend for, since you can't, be around people, and stuff? What type of interaction would you recommend so that people still have that, that human, communication and, bonding or whatever? What would you recommend in that regard?
Um, with I guess with all of the electronics we have and access to internet, that even if you can't see the people that you want to see face to face, you can always pick up your phone and call them or FaceTime them. Or even recently, I had a Zoom brunch with my with some of my friends, just using those resources in a sense to say, okay, to kind of connect with the people around you.
So what was required to get that set up? And it seems kind of interesting. So what did you guys each have your brunch there, and so you're sitting there eating as you're doing this Zoom session? So how
Right. And it's
can
kind
you
of
talk about
odd.
that
It
a
is
little bit
kind
more?
of odd. But yes, everyone had their own individual food, drink, and to set it up, you needed either your phone or your laptop or iPad, whatever electronic, and you don't need to download the app. You can just go and go on their website. One person has to set up the meeting in a sense, and send out the code to everyone or the link to everyone, and you just jump on that way, and you guys just you can all see each other, um, and just have a
So
conversation. It's like FaceTime but with multiple people.
so you guys have an agenda, or was it just kind of an
No, there
impromptu?
was no agenda. It basically like
So
if we had gotten together and we just all catching up and talking about whatever.
oh, okay, okay, all right. That sounds very interesting. It seems like something that maybe some people hadn't thought about doing. I know I've seen several of the Zoom sessions where you know huge families basically use Zoom to be able to communicate with each other, see each other, and so that was pretty cool. It's almost like they were having
Family reunion.
a family
Yeah.
reunion via Zoom. Yeah. So I think that there are some things that we have to be creative in this time. That you know, especially if you're somebody that's you're so used to having that human contact face to face. It definitely can be challenging. Maybe an introvert is not that much of a challenge, but someone that likes to be around people, likes to be always interacting, um, in person with people, that can be challenging. So coming up with some other ways to occupy your time and still have that human interaction is
I
very
mean,
key
it
during this
is. I
time.
mean, that suggestion about the Zoom brunch was because I have one friend who's like, "You guys should come over," and I'm like, "No, ma'am, we're not doing that. But if you want to see us, we can we can do that instead." So, I mean, yeah, for people who are, love being around others and they want to interact, it may be helpful in this time. I know you don't get the direct contact, but it would be helpful.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, you do get to see their face. You're not able to touch their face or
Hug.
hug them or whatever, but you do get to see them, and as you're seeing them, you can hear their voice. So that's good. Any other things that you would recommend to others, to kind of occupy their time?
No, I mean, I really don't know what else to suggest. Just, maybe again, just if, you're trying to accomplish something or you've been saying you need the time to accomplish something, this probably would be a good time to get those things started if you've got the time.
You know what I think happens though? it's like when you actually have the time to do some of the things you have been talking about, it's kind of almost like being somebody who's depressed. And prior to being depressed, they were like, exercising and everything and all that. But then all of a sudden, that when they're depressed, that goes out the window, and now they want to eat sweets and ice cream and all this stuff. So doing all the things that is not good, but it makes them feel good. So I say that to say this is that sometimes you may have things that you intended to work on, you were planning to work on, but you always say you didn't have time. But now that you have time, you find yourself occupying that time with some other things that are kind of a little more pleasing, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not a lasting thing, but just, kind of a temporary joy or satisfaction. And so I think that's why I asked the question is, what was some things that you would recommend? Because you know, most people would probably say, well, if you got a young person, they'll say, I just want to play video games or do some. But what about, some of the other things that you said you wanted to do? Maybe you said you wanted to do more writing or more reading. Different things that you had planned to do prior to this time that we're in. But then once you have the time, you find yourself doing more things that bring a temporary
Yeah, and I think you have to
joy.
remember, I think people do have to remember that, this is just for a time, and it will pass. And, when it passes and, you're free to go back to the way, or not, maybe not even the way things were before, but you're, free to focus and accomplish some of the things you said you wanted to accomplish. I mean, I think that you do want to say, okay, I got a little bit, done. And I know that this time can be a little bit, it can be a downer, right? And you can feel depressed or, because I'm sure things are not going the way anyone planned. Um, but even if you just
Right.
say, I don't want to focus on whatever. I just want to sit here in my slump and I just want to, do nothing. Still take, just say to yourself, okay, if I, I'm going to use writing as an example. If you wanted to write more and you're not in the mood, maybe say, okay, you know what? Every day I'm going to write for 5 minutes, right? Even if I don't feel like it, I'm just going to, for 5 minutes, focus on doing this writing. And then you'll see that, okay, I spent 5 minutes writing. I want to write some more. And I think that's the thing. Maybe sometimes we need to just step into things slowly. Everything doesn't have to be 100% all in, but just start and just do a little bit. And as time progresses, you'll see that you're doing more.
And that's a good point, because I was thinking, like, during this time you just feel a certain way, and like I say, you just want that thing to just kind of give you like a temporary, like, escape. And so, for example, like, if you need to work on a website or something, but then it's easy to say, you know what, I think I'm just going to watch a movie. And because the movie is kind of a escape from everything, you kind of like
Mm-hmm.
focus on the movie, but you're not really accomplishing
All
anything
right.
by
And
watching
I
the
mean, and
movie.
I do the same thing.
But
I'll say, okay, I got to work out, and I'm like, I don't feel like it. And I'm like, I just want to watch the show. So what I've started doing sometimes when I'm like, I want to, just lounge and watch the show, I'll let the show play and then I'll have my workout playing on something else and I'll work out while the show is going on. And it's really weird because sometimes I'm not even watching whatever the show is. I think I just want to hear the noise. And so you just have to kind of make adjustments for whatever's going on with you. Um, so.
okay, so that leads us into our last question. So how do you think, um, your family members and your friends coming out of this, because eventually it will pass. Maybe something else that lies ahead, but
Mhm.
this will pass. And but how do you think that going forward you will, you know, the things that you find yourself doing to occupy your time? What will you get out of all of this that you, because things can't go back the way they were. The things are going to be different regardless of whether we want it to be or not.
Hmm.
It's not going to be the same. Even our behaviors are not going to be be the same. So what do you think? You know, your family and your friends. What do you think would probably be um, the things that you would be doing to occupy your time
Once this is over,
once it's over?
oh, well, me personally, I don't know exactly what I would do differently to occupy my time. I do think that I probably, during this time, I probably need to balance out what I spend my time on. But after, I definitely know that while I'm grateful for my friends and family, I think this is making me even more grateful for them. Because I can't see them. And with the situation that's going on, it's just, and I mean, and it's the case at any moment, no matter what's going on in the world. But um, just, not knowing, the what ifs or what's going to happen. So just being grateful for them, and the time that I get to spend with them, enjoying them in every moment.
That's great because I think that a lot of times we take, you know, we take each other for granted, and we feel that there will always be time where I can meet them, or
Hmm.
go see them, or talk to them, and we take it for granted. But this situation has showed us that at any given moment, you know, a friend could be gone, you know, a family member could be gone, you know, and even ourselves could be gone. But so that is something that should be number one for everybody, is or at least high on the list, is the taking the time to really value and appreciate each other. One of the things I was thinking about is our relationship with God. Um, that a lot of times we take that for granted.
Hmm.
Um, that that He's gonna always be there for us, and we can call upon Him whenever we get ready. Um, and so we don't really have Him
Hmm.
as a priority. And so I'm hoping that out of this, that people will give God more of their time. That He's not just a somebody you
Right.
just call on when
And
there's
I was
trouble.
thinking about that as well, about how this is a great example of, when people say, God just needed to get me alone so that I could hear what he was saying to me. And I was thinking about that, um, because I mean, if you're doing the social distancing the way it's supposed to be done, you generally can't be, in your sister's house or your mom's house, or, and in a sense, if you've got your kids and family in the house, I mean, they're there, but it's also those, you can't really be distracted by the outside world. And so, it really makes you focus on the things that are important and listening to what God is trying to say to you. And just it's really interesting how this is really, it's like almost, it's a worldwide, God's trying to get your attention.
Right. And so I really appreciate you joining today. I really appreciate all of your responses and your input. I've learned a lot, and just good to get your perspective on things. And I want to encourage everyone to join us for another episode of Fred Speaks. Thank you.